welcome to the 82nd episode of Jazzology presented by Savage Content. I'm your host, Willard Jenkins, and we're here alternating Saturdays giving two jazz fans the opportunity to compete for a chance to win $100. Each contestant will be asked questions worth 2 points. If they are unable to answer correctly, their opponent will have a chance to steal the question for 1 point. We'll ask 10 questions, and at the end of the 10 questions, the person with the lowest score will get a bonus question for the opportunity to tie the score, no matter how far they are behind in the score. If they're successful, the game will go to sudden death. The person in the lead at the end of the regulation will go first, and each contestant will take turns trying to answer the sudden death multiple choice question until we have a winner. Our current champion, let's meet our current champion for Jazzology. Our current champion is Malcolm Stokes, a gifted and in-demand musician, primarily on trumpet. Malcolm is currently a member of 5 bands, 4 based in New York City, and one he co-founded over 12 years ago, Crush Funk Brass, in Washington, D.C. Malcolm Stokes also leads 2 ensembles, the Gophers, a fusion group drawing on elements of Black American music, particularly blues and funk, and Mastet, a straight-ahead jazz collective inspired by the great quintets and sextets of the early hard bop era. A California native now residing in Brooklyn, Malcolm Stokes credits his time in D.C. and at Howard University as vital to his musical development. Our challenger for the 82nd episode of Jazzology is Alissa Clancy. Alissa Clancy spent 36 years as program director at the Bay Area's jazz station KCSM Jazz91, where she hosted a Morning Cup of Jazz and Desert Island Jazz. Alissa retired in 2021 and started working as a news anchor and reporter at KCBS in San Francisco. In the last 4 years, Alissa Clancy has covered fires, earthquakes, the election of Joe Biden, the rise of Kamala Harris, and the re-election of Donald Trump. Alissa is a historian, musician, social and political activist, married to a musician with adult twin children who are also musicians. All right, let's get to our questions. Are you all ready?
Ready.
Let's do it. All right, well, Malcolm Stokes, as our reigning champion, Malcolm goes first. Malcolm, who wrote the theme music for the 1970s television show Ironside? Was that A, Henry Mancini, B, Duke Ellington, C, Quincy Jones, D, Oliver Nelson, or E, Lalo Schifrin?
Well, this one is a little before my time. I've never heard of the Ironside show, but immediately the name that came to my head was Quincy Jones. So after seeing some of the other names, I could see it being Duke Ellington. I think he scored a lot of stuff as well, but I think Quincy, from what I know, Quincy scored a lot of shows and had a lot of credits. So I'm going to go with C, Quincy Jones.
And that is correct. And your assumption was correct that all of those gentlemen scored television and films.
Yeah.
Alissa, your turn next. Alissa, what jazz artist wrote the score for the 1970s television series, The $6 Million Man? Was that A, Dave Grusin, B, Lalo Schifrin, C, Don Ellis, D, J.J. Johnson, or E, Herbie Hancock?
Okay. I don't think it was Don Ellis, although Don did some stuff for TV. $6 Million Man. I don't think it was J.J. Johnson, so I'm going to cancel out J.J. I don't. Lalo Schifrin. Yeah, I'm not gonna go with Herbie. So JJ, Don, and Herbie are gone. And it's down to Lalo and Dave Grusin. $6 Million Man sounds like a Lalo Schifrin. I think it was too small a project for Lalo. I'm going to go with Dave Grusin.
Ooh. That is incorrect. So, Malcolm, which jazz artist wrote the music score for the 1970s television series, a little before your time, but the 1970s television series, The $6 Million Man? A, Dave Grusin has been eliminated. Would that be B, Lalo Schifrin, C, Don Ellis, D, J.J. Johnson, or E, Herbie Hancock?
This is another interesting question. I've never heard of $6 Million Man.
$6 Million Man.
Come on, you've never heard of the $6 Million Man, Malcolm?
I'm on the 8 ball again. And I only know two of the guys on this list, and that being J.J. Johnson and Herbie Hancock. I don't know how much they scored for television, but being that they're the only two that I have heard of, and I feel more comfortable with Herbie Hancock just because I know he's a piano player. He probably has more experience scoring stuff. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Herbie Hancock.
That is incorrect as well. The artist who scored $6 Million Man was D, J.J. Johnson.
Whoa.
Hey.
And you know J.J. Johnson, listen, J.J. spent a lot of time in Hollywood before he moved back to Indianapolis. So it was J.J. Johnson. All right, it's Malcolm 2 and Alissa still trying to catch up. Malcolm, your turn next. Malcolm, which of the following artists entered the Downbeat Magazine Hall of Fame in 2021? Would that have been A, Carla Bley, B, Pharoah Sanders, C, Charles Lloyd, D, Shirley Horn, or E, Grant Green?
I really need to just go buy some stock in Downbeat and just study those magazines because I feel like it'll make a big difference. I had the pleasure of playing with Pharoah Sanders when I was at Howard. And since he's the only person I've ever played with, and I respect Charles Lloyd and Shirley, they're all great musicians, but I'm going to go with Pharoah just based on that. So I'll go with B, Pharoah Sanders.
That is incorrect, Malcolm. Alissa with an opportunity to steal the point. Alissa, which of the following artists entered the Downbeat Magazine Hall of Fame in 2021? Would that have been
2021? 2021.
Would that have been A, Carla Bley, B, Pharoah Sanders has been eliminated, C, Charles Lloyd, D, Shirley Horn, or E, Grant Green?
I'm going to go with Carla Bley.
And you are correct. Carla Bley did indeed enter the Downbeat Hall of Fame in 2021. So, Alissa, you're up next with an opportunity to catch up, and go ahead. Alissa, John Coltrane's classic Giant Steps was released in 1960 by Atlantic Records and was recorded in what year? Was Giant Steps recorded for Atlantic Records in A, 1957, B, 1958, C, 1959, D, 1960, or E, none of the above?
Yeah, I think it was recorded the year before it was released. I'm going to go with 1959.
And you are correct. John Coltrane's classic Giant Steps was recorded for Atlantic Records in 1959 and released in 1960. Malcolm, you're up next. Time for you to play catch-up. Mm-hmm. Malcolm, trumpeter Ingrid Jensen is a native of Canada, born in which of the following cities? Was Ingrid Jensen born in A, Toronto, B, Montreal, C, Ottawa, D, Vancouver, or E, none of the above?
I'm a big fan of Ingrid Jensen, but unfortunately, I don't know where she was born specifically, but I'm going to go and guess C, Ottawa.
That is incorrect, Malcolm. Alissa, with an opportunity to steal the point. Alissa, trumpeter Ingrid Jensen is a native of Canada, born in which of the following Canadian cities? Was Ingrid Jensen born in A, Toronto, B, Montreal, C, Ottawa has been eliminated, D, Vancouver, or E, none of the above?
Well, I think Ingrid was born in a little tiny town called Nanaimo or something with an N, so I'm going to go with none of the above.
That is correct. Now, Diana Krall, who was roughly from the same area of Canada, was born in Nanaimo, the town you had on the tip of your tongue.
Yeah.
Ingrid Jensen was born in North Vancouver.
Great.
So we are at the point of our mid-show break. This week, we're spotlighting No Regrets, the music and spirit of Billie Holiday, an in-depth 13-episode radio and live streaming documentary series celebrating the great Billie Holiday's extraordinary musical legacy. No Regrets explores her early life, Billie Holiday's groundbreaking singing style, and the powerful impact her rendition of Strange Fruit had on the civil rights movement. Produced by award-winning Steve Robinson and written by yours truly, No Regrets is narrated by Rhonda Hamilton. The series features interviews with Angela Davis, Cassandra Wilson, Beth Roars, Andromeda Toure, Diane Reeves, Phil Schaap, Dee Dee Bridgewater, Dan Morgenstern, Renee Marie, and many others. All episodes of No Regrets, the music and spirit of Billie Holiday, are available to free stream and can be accessed at savagecontent.com. And here, only a few days after we lost a jazz giant, we want to definitely remember this man, the great Jack DeJohnette.
Yeah.
Jack DeJohnette has passed on to ancestry, and I, in fact, am preparing some radio programming celebrating Jack DeJohnette. Look for that on social media, but we do want to remember Jack DeJohnette in this episode of Jazzology.
Yeah.
And now for our favorite question. Alissa, how did you fall in love with jazz?
My grandfather was a big band piano player in the Ohio Territory bands in the 30s.
Ohio
Territory.
All right. I grew up.
That's right. So I just grew up listening to that, and then I had a kind of a natural propensity for figuring out tunes on the piano, and so started playing piano when I was really young and fell in love with Louis Armstrong and all of these guys.
All right. Well, Malcolm, you've answered that question previously. We have to ask you, what keeps you excited about jazz music?
What keeps me excited is all the, young, talented musicians that are taking the music, that want to carry on the legacy. I think there's a lot of potential for jazz to continue to reinvent itself and to continue to grow and to morph into something beautiful. And so I think if we, people say preserve, but like it's not dead, so we don't need to preserve it. But if we continue to promote it and let people know that it's a viable music option to listen to, then I think it's in good hands with some of the young cats that are coming up.
Well, Malcolm, I appreciate that, and I appreciate Alyssa's sense of history. And jazz is an ever evolving art form, and so we certainly want to support young musicians coming up, endeavoring to play this music. Yes, and we'll go back to our questions, starting with Alissa. Alissa, what instrument did the late jazz woman Elvira Vi Red play? What instrument did Vi Red play? Did she play A, the piano, B, the bass, C, the guitar, D, the trombone, or E, the alto saxophone?
Well, I just saw her in a video that I own with Marion McPartland, so I'm going to go with alto saxophone, E.
And that is correct. The artist born Elvira Red, who was known as Vi Red, did indeed play the alto saxophone, which she certainly excelled at. Mm-hmm. Malcolm, you're up next, and you got to make time for you to play some catch-up.
Yeah.
And now we go to the late great that we just talked about. When the late great drummer Jack DeJohnette made a piano trio album, who was the drummer? When Jack DeJohnette made his piano trio album, was the drummer A, Tony Williams, B, Billy Higgins, C, Al Foster, D, Freddie Waits, or E, Paul Motian?
What a confusing question. I'm very confused. So I guess, I'll go ahead and answer it, but then I do have a follow-up question. I'm going to go with A, Tony Williams, but did Jack DeJohnette, then he played piano?
He was a classical pianist.
Jack DeJohnette was a piano player and a drummer.
Interesting.
And in fact, I actually interviewed Jack DeJohnette about 10 days ago.
Oh, wow.
For Downbeat magazine. Jack DeJohnette is going to be entering the Downbeat Hall of Fame. And I had the great pleasure of interviewing Jack about 10 days ago, and he told the story of how he was playing in Chicago with Eddie Harris. And Eddie Harris told him, he said, man, he said, you play nice piano, but I think the drums is your future. And that is what made him concentrate mainly on the drums. But he was certainly a fine piano player.
Wow.
And Alissa was correct. Oh, no, Alissa now has an opportunity to steal the point.
Yeah.
Now, let me repeat the question. When the late, great drummer Jack DeJohnette made a piano trio album, who was the drummer? A, Tony Williams, whom Jack succeeded in the Miles Davis band. Tony Williams has been eliminated. B, Billy Higgins. C, Al Foster. D, Freddie Waits. Or E, Paul Motian?
Wow, this is a tough one because I can actually see the cover of the album. And I don't think it was Billy Higgins. And I don't. Okay, I've got it down to Paul Motian and Al Foster. I think I'm going to go with Paul Motian.
That is incorrect. The drummer who made Jack DeJohnette's piano trio album was indeed D, Freddie Waits. The father of the great drummer Nasheet Waits. All right, so Alissa, you're up next. On June 18th, 1978, as a celebration of the 25th anniversary of the Newport Jazz Festival, President Jimmy Carter and First Lady Rosalind Carter I have to add her name in there. Hosted a jazz picnic and party on the south lawn of the White House. Whose daughter, named Catherine, sang the St. Louis Blues on that occasion? Would that have been A, Max Roach's daughter, B, Dizzy Gillespie's daughter, C, Duke Ellington's daughter, D, Fats Waller's daughter, or E, W.C. Handy's daughter?
Well, I can eliminate Duke. Oh, wait. Maybe not. Maybe it was Mercedes Ellington. Wasn't Dizzy's daughter that he found out later was his daughter.
Right.
Wasn't Max, so let's get rid of Max. Not Fats. I'm going with Dizzy Gillespie's daughter.
That is incorrect. So Malcolm with an opportunity to steal the point. Malcolm, on June 18, 1978, as a celebration of the 25th anniversary of the Newport Jazz Festival, President Jimmy Carter and First Lady Rosalind Carter hosted a jazz picnic and party on the south lawn of the White House, which I should add was broadcast by NPR. Whose daughter, named Catherine, sang the St. Louis Blues on that occasion? Was it A, Max Roach, B, Dizzy Gillespie, C, Duke Ellington, D, Fats Waller, or E, W.C. Handy?
I'm a little torn on this one. My gut wants to say Duke Ellington, as he's a native of D.C., so maybe his daughter was nearby. But I believe that W.C. Handy wrote that tune, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm between C and E, but I'm going to go ahead and say C, Duke Ellington.
Malcolm, you had it. You had it.
W.C. Handy.
The correct answer was E, W.C. Handy.
Yeah.
And you know, by the process of elimination, you got to figure that they're going to have somebody's daughter sing the St. Louis Blues. It had to be representative of the composer of the St. Louis Blues.
It makes all the sense.
Totally.
So, Malcolm, you're up next, Malcolm. Which of the following was a great, historic Afro-Cuban bass player? Was that A, Machito, B, Mario Bauza, C, Israel Cachao Lopez, D, Alfredo Rodriguez, or E, Chano Pozo?
These questions are tough to do.
That's why we call it Jazzology.
Yeah. My Latin jazz knowledge is not up to par. So I've actually only ever heard of Chano out of these players here. But I think I'm going to go with Alfredo Rodriguez.
That's incorrect. Alissa with a chance to steal the point. Alissa, which of the following was a great, historic Afro-Cuban bass player? Would that have been A, Machito, B, Mario Bauza, C, Israel Cachao Lopez, D, Alfredo Rodriguez has been eliminated, or E, Chano Pozo?
Well, It's ka-chow.
That is correct. It is indeed a C, Israel Ka-chow Lopez. So, Alissa, you're up next, and we're staying in Latin music in this case.
Ooh.
Uh-oh.
Alissa, among the greats of Latin music who have contributed to jazz history is the band leader Frank Grillo, known professionally as Machito. Which of the following instruments did Machito play? Did Machito play A, the piano, B, the bass, C, the timbales, D, the congas, or E, the maracas?
Machito wasn't he just the front man? So for the band, he ran the band. So piano, no. Bass, no. Machito, timbales. It's timbales or congas. It can't be timbales, congas, and maracas together, right? Can't be all together. Can't do all the percussion. Machito. Machito was, I don't think he played congas. Maracas.
What's that?
Maracas.
You're going with E. And that is correct.
Total guess.
Machito played the maracas. So, Malcolm, you are behind, and you have an opportunity to catch up with our bonus question. That's the rules of the game.
That's right.
So, Malcolm, Charles Mingus wrote the tune Goodbye Pork Pie Hat.
Oh, my God.
As his tribute to which of the following jazz greats? Did Mingus write Goodbye Pork Pie Hat as a tribute to A, Coleman Hawkins, B, Dizzy Gillespie, C, Lester Young, D, Fats Waller, or E, James P. Johnson?
It's so funny because I have a portrait of like all these jazz greats, and Coleman Hawkins and Lester Young are on it, and I'm pretty sure it's one of them, one of the saxophone players. And I used to know this because I learned it in college, which was 15 years ago now. It's either A or C. I am going to just hope that it's C, Lester Young.
And indeed, it was Lester Young for whom Charles Mingus wrote Goodbye Pork Pie Hat. So that means our score is tied, and we go to sudden death.
Okay.
And Alissa, as the lead at the end of regulation, will go first. Alissa, which of the following families of jazz musicians came from Pontiac, Michigan? Would that be A, the Montgomerys, Monk, Wes, and Buddy? B, the Heaths, Percy, Jimmy, and Albert? C, the Joneses, Hank, Thad, and Elvin? D, the Condoleezza, Pete and Conti? Or E, the Mangionis, Chuck and Gap?
Well, it's not the Montgomery brothers because they were Indianapolis and environs. The Heaths were from Philadelphia. The Condoleezza, I don't know. I think they were from L.A. Mangionis, Chuck and Gap. You say Pontiac, Michigan?
Yep.
It's the Joneses. Hank, Thad, Elvin, right?
Indeed it is. It's the Joneses, Hank, Thad, and Elvin, who are from Pontiac, Michigan. So congratulations to Alissa Clancy. Congratulations, Alissa, on winning our 82nd episode of Jazzology.
Wow.
We encourage everyone to try your hand and play Jazzology. If you or anyone you know would like to become a contestant on Jazzology, simply click on the link below and fill out the form. You must be 18 years old or older, and be sure to follow us on social media at Jazzology Trivia Show to get all the latest news and updates. And here, I have to interject an additional kudo, because Alissa, unfortunately, it's been a long time since a woman has won Jazzology.
Really?
Yes, indeed. We congratulate you. Many thanks to Malcolm and to our current champion, Alissa Clancy, and to everyone who joined us for our 82nd episode of Jazzology. Remember, you can check out Jazzology at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you missed the show live, you can find the archive on the Savage Content YouTube channel. Thank you both, and we will see you next time for the 83rd episode of Jazzology.
Thank you.